is the internet? Cloud computing refers to any service at all. I mean, any service that is delivered over the internet. So the internet is the main thing here. You can't talk about cloud computing without the internet. So you want to think of it from the perspective of the internet. And that is what is normally referred to as the cloud. So what does this cloud computing is all about? It's about services. But what kind of services are we talking about here? We're talking about computing services. When we talk about computing services, you're talking about storage, you're talking about networking, you're talking about your computing as a CPU and every massive CPU that is delivered for you or delivered for you in the form of, when I use the word virtual machine or VM, we'll come to that. I mean, I'm trying as much as possible to take it to the basic for the people that are on this call that doesn't even know what cloud computing is all about. So that's what you're looking at. You're actually looking at things like your storage, like your servers, like networking, the software, the virtual machines, you know, that you will use, and it is done what is delivered via the internet. That is the main word around the cloud computing. And the reason for this is because when you look at cloud computing, it's not something that is delivered within. We use the difference between on-premise. When I use on-premise, that is, you have a data center, a physical location where you can go to. Yes, you have that. That's the traditional way we deploy solutions. That's the traditional way we have our services delivered to us. But now when we make mention of cloud computing, we're actually referring to this same service we consume on a daily basis, probably maybe from a physical data center that is located at our site. We are delivering these services from over the internet. What this means is that at every point in time, you must have a form of internet services, whether on your mobile devices or whatever devices or whatever devices you are trying to consume this application or services. So you must have internet on it. And the beauty about the cloud is this: it is faster. You can get innovation from it. It is scalable because you can actually start small and then increase as you go along. And also, so when you look at the cloud computing, what comes to mind is this: you only pay for the cloud services you use. So away from our DSTV, whether you consume it or not, you pay for it. But when it comes to the cloud, when you're looking at a cloud service, you are only paying for what you use. So if you don't use, your money is not deducted. When it is being used, then the money is deducted. So, and then what is it deducted on? Is we talk about the computing power, we will talk about the servers, the networking. Those are the things you consume on the cloud. So basically, that is what cloud computing is. And a lot of us have been using it before now. Think about your ATM machine. Think about when you, before now, how you do your transaction or with your bank. Think of all that. That is actually cloud computing at work. So basically, that is what cloud computing is. So we'll also be looking at why the cloud computing. Why cloud really? One of the first things you want to think about is this: you want to look at the traditional data center we have running, and it comes to mind. People look at it, oh, we run this, and let's take Nigeria as a typical example. You have situations where light is not available. You have situations where even you have hardware failures and all of that. And then you have situations where keeping up to say maybe you want to maintain a business is actually a challenge in Nigeria or some other parts of the world. So that is what, so you want to take some of those edicts about you running a data center and then taking care of the cooling, taking care of all of that. You wanted to move to a provider who can provide, can take care of that services. So, but then one of the studies that was done is this, that one of the factors driving cloud computing or cloud consumption is actually the disaster that IT admins face daily. And when you look at it, when you look at disasters that are caused, you find out that disasters that are caused by operational failures are even more than from this chart. You have disasters come from power failure, from IT failure, and then IT software failure, and then so keeping up with all of these challenges is something that IT admins can no longer cope with. And then so you want to take this and take it to someone else that can help you to handle it. So this is just showing us a chart of what are the causes of IT disaster that we really have at work, or we have happening in organization. And you have operational failures, natural disaster, human cause failure. You know, when you talk about terrorism, you talk about malicious outsider and all of that. But leading the chart is actually the operational failures, which is actually what concerns we as IT people. And so that's one of the things you want to consider before you now say you want to move to the cloud. Now, why the use of the cloud? Like I said, it improved. The speed is something you cannot. I mean, you can. The speed is something that cannot be compared with, because your environment will not be able. The traditional environment will not be as fast. Kindly mute your mic, please. The traditional environment cannot be as fast for you as what you can get to be delivered from the cloud. And then so you get a situation where you can spin up an application immediately within minutes, and you can actually deliver these applications. I'm talking about thousands of applications or thousands of software you can actually spin up within few minutes because of the cloud. Now you also have the option for you to be able to do what? To scale in, to scale out. You know, you can start small, you can look as your demands grow, you scale up. You know, these are some of the things that the cloud provides you. Then you look at the economics around it, because one of the things you get with the cloud is this: you only pay for what you use. So imagine me having what they call it, having a server up, and there is really no request coming for those servers, and I have to worry about cooling, I have to worry about the networking, I have to worry about the power that I'm going to use for those things, and yet there is really nobody, so to say, making use of that server, or even at any point in time, consuming it. So you have those challenges that you face in most times, and you look at the cloud. The cloud is more cost effective when you look at it. So that's one of the economics of the cloud that you want to look at. Yeah. I think is someone trying to present? Okay, I think I'm good. Now, when you talk about the cloud, one of the things you want to be bothered about is around the deployment model. Now, what does this deployment model and the service model talk about? Deployment model, as I will say in a layman, let me be able to define it, it is defined according to where you want the infrastructure for your deployment to reside, and who has control over it. So in a layman, I would say when you talk about deployment model, you are actually talking about where the infrastructure for my deployment of the services or whatever I want to consume in the cloud, where do I want it to reside, and who has control over each of these infrastructures. So this actually helps you, because organizations have different needs. So to meet the organization, you talk about, do you want it to be a public cloud, where we'll go in the next slide, we'll talk about more in details, or do you want it to be a private cloud, or you want it to be an hybrid cloud? So like I said, a lot of us are familiar with this, but for the beginners, this will make sense. Then you talk about the service model. So you are looking at, what are the services I want to consume, and in which manner do I want to consume it in the cloud? So you talk about the services like your email, it can be the application, it can be networking, it can be a database, it can be a collaboration, so it can be your ERP. Then how are these services that I want to consume, how is it delivered to me? So you have the three options, which is the software as a service, the platform as a service, and then infrastructure as a service. So I'll go real quick to the deployment model. So like I said, the public cloud runs on the cloud provider hardware. So what does this mean really? An example of it is the Microsoft Azure, which is actually what we're going to be staying on after this call. Because the truth about it is that we're talking about Microsoft certified trainer. And that means that if there's going to be any cloud I'm going to be talking about at the end of the day, it will be Microsoft Azure. However, we have other cloud providers like Amazon, like Google Cloud. We have Google Cloud, but what does the public cloud really talks about? It's what the public cloud means is that you run everything on a provider hardware, which means someone like Microsoft Azure. That means you don't have anything. You take all of your deployment, your data center, you take it up and say, you host it somewhere, and it's like, take care of it for me. I don't want to have anything to do it. Just let me to manage it. That's what your public cloud is. And then who are the customers that are really the target for this public cloud? You are looking at customers who just want to be independent consumer. Remember what I said. I don't want to have to worry about anything. I don't want to have to worry about my data center. I don't want to have to worry about my cooling. I don't want to even worry about my patching or anything. You just take care of it. So those are the cloud, the consumer that you're looking at. Or the public sectors. Those are the people that the public cloud is targeted at. Then the next thing, you have the private cloud. Now, so I don't know how many of us know about things like in Nigeria, here we have main one. We have, I'm always missing it up, so you can let me fill in the gap, whether it's rack space or rack center. I'm always getting it mixed up. And then you have people like MTN. So let's assume I decided to say, okay, I want to run a cloud environment, quite all right. But then I want to host it with these people. So I move my data center. Probably I run a data center. Sometimes you can even run it on your on-premise, or you take that same data center to another service provider, like I mentioned right now, like MTN, or maybe one that has a data center. You know that you can do what is called a colo service or colo with them. So they provide you with the rack, or you can even bring your rack. So they provide you with the building, the cooling. You might be the one providing the rack. You come and do your own installation. You supply your servers yourself. You do your networking yourself, but they provided you with a cooling environment. So that is who the private cloud is. That's what the private cloud provides you. And then they are the one responsible for hardware and software services. You are the one responsible for the hardware, just like I said earlier. But like the environments, the cooling, the cloud provider is the one that is responsible for it. And so most times customers who possess very sensitive data, and they feel, oh, this data, I don't want it to be on my on-premise because I'm not sure I want to run an environment where I can be exposed to any form of theft, or can even be exposed to any kind of disaster, let me even say a fire outbreak. So I want to take it somewhere that I can host it privately. So like I said, you are still the one responsible for bringing your hardware, for bringing your software, but you are only having a data center and the cooling in place for you. So the next one we're going to look at is the hybrid. So with the word hybrid, really, like I used to say, I said the best way for you to understand anything, the IT concept, like I tell people, is this. I normally take the English word first, and then combine it. So if I look at the words, I think I can have like an idea of what they are talking about. So like the word hybrid, it means I am combining two different things. And in this case right now, we've talked about the public and private cloud. So you're looking at your hybrid cloud as a combination of the two. So what happens is this: when you have an environment where you're so skeptical about embracing the cloud, moving all of your infrastructure to somebody, maybe in the public cloud, to start hosting, you can decide to say, no, I want to host some part of it because I still want to have a control over it, but I will give some to Microsoft, or maybe to Google or to Amazon, for them to help me to host. So you have an hybrid scenario in place. So you might want to keep some workloads running on your on-premise data center, and then you do what is called, I'm trying to be very careful because of newcomers, you do what is called a VPN connectivity, or whatever, whether it's the WAN connectivity to that other public cloud. So you're running a private cloud, you understand, and then you are also running a public cloud. So that's one of the things. So as we go on, we will see a lot of this in the coming weeks and how it plays out. So I'll give an example. If you are running some workloads on premise right now, and then you probably maybe your SaaS, your software as a service, applications like your Office 365 and all of that, or even if it is Google apps you're running for email productivity services, but you still have your identity solution on premise, you are actually running an hybrid cloud deployment model. So with that said, I would like to quickly rush through the service model. So the service model, like I said, so I'll start with this, and I want to make it very interactive. If you look at the concept of how pizza is delivered to you today, or how you get to eat pizza. So I want to go into this before I go further. Now, if you look at the blue icon, there are things that you manage, but when you look at the other color, they are the things that your vendor manages. So when you look at it, you look at a traditional on-premise environment, that is, you made at home. So these are the components or things you will need for a pizza that you want to make. So you get your cheese, your toppings, your dining table, your tomato sauce, your pizza, your fire, the oven, the electric gas. You have all of that in place. So that is how you want to make your pizza. So this is, if you are making this from your home, this is what you will be doing. You will get all of that. So what comes to, I don't know whether you're familiar with, I think that is very prevalent in some of these Western countries, where you just go into the store, and I think we have that also in Nigeria, where you just go into the store, into the supermarket, and you buy everything. So it's like they've done the dough for you, the pizza dough, the tomato sauce, the toppings. They've already done it, but it's not something that has already been put into the microwave. So to the electric gas or to the oven. So you buy it that way and you take it home. So you are the one responsible for putting on the fire, the oven, the electric, and so you have that as what is called infrastructure as a service. So I'm just going to liken it to that. I want it to play out in a way where we can understand very well. Then you have the other one, which is called a platform as a service. So I'm still going to look at it. Now you order for Domino Pizza, you go to Domino Pizza and you order for it. Those has already been made. You've done nothing there. You are not the one responsible for the fire. The only thing you are responsible for is the dining table and the soda. So you deliver it to me, and then in consuming it, I can get it up with a soda, to take it up. So that is like a platform as a service. But when it comes to software as a services, you don't even do anything. So it's as good as me walking into Domino Pizza. That's an option for me if I don't want to stay at home to eat. I go to Domino Pizza, and everything there on Domino Pizza is what delivered to me. I don't have anything to do with it. So I've just given an example of it. So let's come now to the real world. This is our real world. So you have a light blue and you have the deep blue, which is what the provider manages, and the light blue is what you manages. So let's come back to the real world. This is the real world. Your on-premise environment, you have your networking, because that is the backbone for any data center you want to set up. So you have the networking, you have the storage, which talks about, the hardware, and then you have the servers, you have the virtualization platform. And that's one of the things I want you to take home with you. When you talk about cloud computing, there are two things that you have to keep in mind. One is the internet. It is a service that is delivered via the internet. And then the second thing you want to think about is this. It is a platform or a services that the underlying platform or technology I will use is what is called virtualization. And when I mean virtualization, is that you're consolidating several numbers of servers into one physical host, because you're trying to do what? You're trying to manage as much as possible the space, the hardware, the cost, and all of the resources. So you consolidate all of those physical servers that could have run in silos, like you have about 10 servers, 10 physical servers, you bring them now and get one high-end server and take all of those servers, you create a slot for them one after the other in a virtual form, really, and then you put all of those 10 servers inside. So that's what you're looking at. So the first two things that will come to your mind when you hear the word cloud computing is delivered over the internet, and then the underlying technology under it is what is virtualization. So for your on-premise environment, you will be running all of this, you manage everything. But when it comes to infrastructure as a service, think about it the same way we talk about the pizza. Now, your cloud provider will be doing what? Taking care of the networking, the storage, the server, the virtualization environment, but you are the one responsible for the OS. So for some of you that have already done Azure, you will find out that you are the one, when you go to the Azure market space, you are the one that have to select the kind of OS you want to deploy on the virtual machine. Remember, your provider is already taking care of the virtualization. They're already taking care of the servers. So you're the one that will be responsible for the middleware, the runtime, the data, and the applications you want to run. That is what infrastructure as a service is. Now, when you look at the platform as a service, what you do is this. You are only responsible for what? The application and data. Why? From the runtime down to the networking, your provider is taking care of it. So giving you an example of infrastructure as a service, I don't want to rush away from there. So you can look at your VM, the VM you spin up on Azure, or you spin up even on Amazon. That is infrastructure as a service. You can also do what is called what? Storage as a service. You can spin up a storage, you just want a block storage, you get a block storage and then you just spin. That is all you need. Maybe you just want to bring that to on-premise and then you use that one to just store files. That is infrastructure as a service. But when you come to a platform as a service, please think of it as the best solution that is closer to home is like your web hosting or even your database, your SQL. Think about a SQL. So when you hear the word Azure SQL, that is like what? A platform as a service. So the platform is already for you there. All you need to do is just do what? The application, do the data. That is, you are bringing your own data from your on-premise to come into that platform. And then you are the one also going to be, some of the configuration has been done for you. Probably just want to tweak few configurations on the platform as a service. Then lastly, you have the software as a service. So if there is any one of you right now, even using Yahoo or Gmail, you are actually using what? Software as a service. So let me bring it back to home, to Microsoft. When you think about software as a service, you're actually thinking of something like what? Your Office 365 or your Microsoft 365 that you're looking at, or probably maybe your email, your Exchange Online, your SharePoint Online. Those are things that is considered what? As software as a service. Then it's not only limited to that. You have things like what? Your Dynamics 365. You have your ERP, even your ERP applications. An example is your SAP. SAP is hosted on Azure right now. Azure is integrating with SAP. You bring all of those things and you want to deliver it, you can actually have it as well as a software as a service. So going away from that, you look at the cost and ownership. When it comes to any cloud, two things are actually going to be, these are the two interesting things you need to consider. You look at the cost and then you look at who manages what. Now, just like what I've showed you before, when it comes to the upfront cost, the IaaS and the PaaS, there is no upfront cost with it because you only pay for what you consume. But when you look at the software as a service, there is no upfront cost. However, you will do what is called a subscription, which means you will be paying whether in a monthly or an annual basis. So you have that. But when it comes to the user ownership, for infrastructure as a service, you are actually responsible for the purchase, the installation, the configuration, and management of your own software, just like what I showed before. And then also for platform as a service, you're only responsible for your application, what you're bringing, your data, what you're bringing. Every other thing, like the server infrastructure, you are not responsible for it. You don't even have to worry about that. But when it comes to software as a service, you just consume it. You just call for the service. You are not responsible for any maintenance, any management, not even the software, not even how it is patched. You are not responsible for it. So you can actually go through just the same thing with the cloud provider ownership. So you look at what is vital for any cloud computing that you want to go into. You're going to be looking at these two things. These three things: the upfront cost, the user ownership, and the cloud provider ownership. Now, going away from that, I just want to quickly introduce us to M365. I think we've laid a basics of the foundation of what the cloud computing is, because Microsoft 365 also is what? A service that is delivered over the internet. And again, the underlying virtualization technology over it for those services is what? Also a virtualization technology that is riding on. So now, this is what today looks like for most customer. No good enough platform, no technology strategy. People just buy things on the spot. I mean, you have employees using personal mobile device to access work, and then you cannot keep up with the challenges. So if my employees are using personal device to access, I mean, using their personal mobile devices, how do I manage security? How do I manage compliance? All of those are the things that customer think about. And then you look at the places where you also find that you have fragmented endpoint solutions. So people just have, that you have solutions all around. There is no unified point to all of these solutions. So this is what customers today are looking at, and then that's what brings. This is what it brings to us as IT administrator or IT professionals or a solution provider. We are to help them to worry, the environments they are going to stay, how they can, what about the security exposure? What about the cross-platform? How can we harmonize all of this? What about the multiple technology? How can we bring everything together? And then you look at the need for you to look for the best breed of solution that can even serve your customer. So these are some of the things as IT professional we're worried with, and that is what Microsoft has received as feedback, and this is why they brought about Microsoft 365. So actually the two slides, a combination of those challenges that were faced by customers, and we, the IT providers. That is why Microsoft brought about Microsoft 365. So define it, it is actually what is called a productive cloud solution. And then it is M365, a productive cloud solution that delivers innovative and intelligent experience. So that is what you will think of when you hear Microsoft 365. And then so it empowers user with the latest innovation. You have things like your Microsoft Teams, which is allowing us right now, wherever you're connected to, even if it is under the water, but as long as you have internet access, you can actually join this meeting. So that is the power of M365. You have the Word, you have your PowerPoint, your Windows, has a service that you can deliver from wherever you are. Then you have things that you can gain insight to with the use of the Microsoft Graph. So that's what Microsoft 365 is all about. Then these are the three solution pillars, or I would say these are the three capabilities. Sorry, please. Okay. So the three capabilities that were responsible for bringing about Microsoft 365 solution pillars. So you look at the productivity and teamwork, and what falls under these are things like your email, your calendar, your SharePoint online, your Exchange online, and then your Microsoft Teams falls under this, because these are the challenges that Microsoft is looking at resolving. These are the capabilities that Microsoft 365 will deliver for you. Then you look at the business management. You talk about things like your workflow. You talk about the Power Apps, you talk about the Power Platform. You talk about, let me not use the word Power Platform because I'll be going much more. Now, you talk about your ERP solution. You talk about your workflows. You talk about your dynamics, that's for business management. Then you talk about the security and compliance. When I have all of this, what about my endpoint management? What about the solutions that I can use to mitigate against risk in my environment, but why not compromising productivity for my users? So those are the things you're going to think about. So this for Microsoft 365, the solution pillars which it is built on is just these three things, which is productivity and teamwork, business management, security, and compliance. Now, bringing it all together is this. You have, so the three major components. Three major components that make up the Office 365 is Microsoft 365, is the Office 365 solution, the Windows 10, and then Enterprise Mobility plus Security Suite, which is normally referred to EMS. So each of these components, as the week goes by, we will be taking them one after the other and then do justice, and we'll go into an in-depth for each of them, solutions around Windows 10 that you can leverage on. One of the things that I normally say to is this: you have environments in Nigeria where you have people coming out from school, and then you have challenges of people getting job, all because you said, they don't have the experience. One of the reasons for the MCT Nigeria platform really is for us to get a lot of our students to be what job ready, and even if you're starting your career new, also to be job ready. So these are things really that could have been taught in the higher institution while you're there, but Nigeria is the way it is, so no problem. It is here for us to work on it and to correct it all together. So you have the Office 365, like I said. Now, what does Office 365 entails? You have the online services, which is Exchange, OneDrive, Microsoft Teams. Then you have the business app, you have the Microsoft Booking, the Outlook Customer, you have the Manager, the MailIQ. Then you have things like the desktop app, which is your Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and more. So this is not, and then you have things like SharePoint online here also. Then it comes now to Windows 10. You have things like Windows Defender, Windows Autopilot, and then the EMS. Actually, you have three components of EMS. You have Azure Active Directory Premium, you have the Microsoft Intune, and then you have the Azure Information Protection, which help you do what is called protection and classification. So we will do justice to that more because of time. So the benefits of M365 is what? Personal productivity. These are the benefits that it ranges from, that you can have organization productivity. It helps you protect your business. You can manage all your endpoints. You have, like, if you look at the former slide, you have a simplified and one single management console, which is your admin center. So we will look at that when we're about to do the trial version of M365. So these are all the other benefits you have. It helps you to achieve more, connect with customer, co-workers, and suppliers wherever they are. Just like what we're doing. Everybody's sitting at the comfort of their house, and this is the only power of Microsoft 365. This is what it can allow you to do. You can just connect from where you have using your Microsoft Teams. Now, you also, like I said, anywhere, doesn't matter. You stay connected with Teams. You work from home. You work with your storage. You work with your servers. You can patch your servers. You can do anything from anywhere. So we'll also be talking about a little bit of Azure. So I don't want to get into Azure so much because we actually have a group, the MCT Azure user, the Nigeria Azure user group, that can do justice to that for you. Now, the always-on security, that will be taken care by the EMS, like I said. So we'll go into that also. Then simplified for your business. You can quickly set up new employees to get them going, manage users and devices. It gives you like a single console for administration. So now, taking us to really what is the topic for today, which is the Microsoft 365 core services and features. I've already made mention of this. So these are the core services. You have the Exchange Online, you have the SharePoint Online, the Microsoft Teams, the Microsoft Endpoint Manager, the Windows 10, and then the Microsoft 365 apps. So these are the core cloud services under the Microsoft 365. So when you hear anytime anybody says Microsoft 365, and if you look at the M365 banner that we have, we said all you need to know about what? Office 365, Windows 10, and then the EMS. So you see that these are the three components of it, and that's why you have the Microsoft Endpoint Manager, under the EMS. Then you have the Exchange Online, SharePoint, Microsoft Teams, and Microsoft 365 apps under the Office 365. But because the name changed, so this is just the 6 major components, cloud services under the Microsoft 365. Now, the Exchange Online is actually for messaging and collaboration. So if you know the concept of how the post office work, I can't go into that now because of time. How you go into the post office, you post a letter, you get a stamp on it, and you know all of that. That is exactly the same way the Exchange Online, when you transact email from one point to the other, you receive an invite from me. It is the Exchange Online platform that I'm on that is able to help me deliver that email to you. You are able to receive it. I'm able to receive a response from you. the Exchange Online allows me. Now I have what is called a mailing list when I'm about to send this invite out. That is my contact info. It is also the Exchange Online that is responsible for that. Now you receive a notification that a meeting is starting at a particular time, and then you have to join this team meeting. It's actually the Exchange Online that is responsible. So you have the calendar with it. Then you can actually configure what is called what task, and you can assign tasks to people. So in a nutshell, that is what Exchange Online is for, and then it can be accessed on multiple mobile devices, including your Android, your iOS, and your Windows 10 devices. Now, the other thing is the SharePoint Online. So I want to describe the SharePoint like what is referred to your intranet website. Now, you have a website where it is public to everyone. But when it comes to the SharePoint Online, you can liken it to what is referred to as your intranet, so your corporate your own corporate website. So with the SharePoint Online, you can actually do you can create a document library where people can do upload their documents, share documents, collaborate easily with one another. You have things like your search, your site. You can create search specific to each department. You understand? So that's what SharePoint Online will do. So just to give you a brief overview, but like I said, we will go deep into each of these topics as the weeks goes by. Then you have the Microsoft Teams. So what is allowing to help us to facilitate this meeting right now is actually the Microsoft Teams. So if you want to understand, what Microsoft Teams is all about, just think about how you join this meeting, how I'm able to present to you, how you can hear me from the comfort of my house and you are not seeing me, or even if you want to see me, I can decide to share my video with you. What facilitates all of this is what is called the Microsoft Team. So Microsoft Team provides a central hub for collaboration within your organization and outside the organization, because for all you know, you are not even a member of my organization, but yet it has helped to bridge that gap that I can still connect with you and we can still derive benefits, in collaborating and then in working together to achieve a common goal. That is what Microsoft Teams can do for you. Then you have the Endpoint Manager, the Microsoft Endpoint Manager. This is the place where you have the convergence really of Microsoft Intune and Configuration Manager functionality. If you are familiar with what is called System Center Configuration Manager, this is what the Microsoft Endpoint Manager is all really about. So what Intune's help you to do is that it manages your computer, your laptops, and mobile device. Remember what I said. You want to be able to give users, because this is an era of bring your own device. You want them to be able to bring their device, be able to work with any device that they're comfortable with, and at anywhere they are, whether they are in their house or whether in a cyber cafe, but yet you do not want to minimize or compromise security. So those are some of the things that the Microsoft Endpoint Manager will help you look at. And then you have the Azure Active Directory as an identity platform that integrates easily with the Microsoft Endpoint Manager for a more for a more identity management platform. So that's what you have with the Microsoft Endpoint. And then lastly, you have the Windows 10 Enterprise, which is actually what the platform, the OS version, which you're going to be using to do what? To be able to work, where the OS will stay, where your applications will be installed on, and all of that. So the Windows 10 also, you can have protection, you can have, it can help you with the advanced security features that are in need to be able to respond to most advanced hardware, malware, threats, and the likes. So you have Windows 10. Now, lastly, you have the Microsoft 365 apps. So you have things like your Outlook, your Word, your Office, your Excel, your PowerPoint. Those are the core components of Microsoft 365. So with that said, I'll just quickly run through the subscription. So what will come to mind is this: why are you telling us subscription if we're IT people? But bet me, when you are standing before a customer as an IT person to advise them on what to go for, maybe you're doing a scoping session, then you will know why this is necessary. Because as an IT person, forget about the salespeople that knows what the figures are. you have to also know, because when you're providing a solution for a customer, you want to know what are the plans or the options that are available. So for Microsoft 365 subscription, like I said, remember what I said, the software as a service is what is delivered by what is consumed on a subscription basis. Remember, is that you consume it on a monthly or on a yearly basis. So when you have Microsoft 365 subscription, these are the 4 subscriptions you have. You have M365 Enterprise, M365 Business, M365 Education for education people, and then you have M365 Home. So, and there are, each of them have their individual plans. So under Enterprise, I have 3 plans, which is the E3, E5, and F3. Whereas I have under Business, I have Basic, Standard, and Premium. And then the target customer audience for each of the plans you can see on the slide. You have M365 Enterprise. The target is for what? Enterprise class organization, organization that maybe they are looking at all of the components that are included in Office 365, in Microsoft 365, and they still look at threat protection, security, collaboration. So you're giving them M365. Then you look at the business, but when you look at small and medium-sized organization, then you want to look at the business subscription for them. So that you can now look at the kind of business plan you want to give them, whether it's the basic, standard, or premium. You also have the education, like I said. This education is actually meant for both students and then for their teachers, so you can have this. And then this actually comes in a very, 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 very small figure, because it's actually more like, I would say it is an NGO cost they give to education, so you can actually consume this. Then as an individual also, probably you just want to buy M365 just for home use, maybe like a 5-user environment, or maybe you just run a small organization, you're a starter and you just want to start, you don't want to buy anything so much. You can actually use the M365 home user. You can, it's actually for family and for personal. So it depends that maybe like you don't want to spend so much. You can actually go with that. Then these are the comparison, this comparison, I think with this slide, you can always visit the Microsoft link. You can actually visit the to understand more what this will do, and each of the plans, their capabilities, and then the differences, what they offer, each of them. So without wasting of our time, let us quickly run into the demo. What I'm going to do for you, because I want you guys to do as I do, what I'm going to do real quick is to see if I can quickly paste in the chat window. So I've pasted in the chat window, and I'm going to run quickly through so please, if you can see my screen, let me know. So I'm just going to quickly sign up. Now, the link I left in that chat window is for us to be able to sign up with the Microsoft 365 Business Premium. So I'm just going to do that real quick. I'm going to start with my Gmail. You can actually use any Gmail account. If you click on the same link I sent in the chat window, you can actually start up with it. Okay, so it's going to ask me that I want to set my account up for the first time. So I'm just going to do a few things around. Yeah, I will supply your business phone number. Country. Oh, sugar. 3, 4, 6 minutes. Yeah, thank you. Digits think that's the problem we have with signing up Office 365 in okay, include the area code. I can get the area code. That's it? No, I can't do that. All right, I think this is the same problem, except we use the. All right, so I'll just let me just go through this page, and then we'll go through the other part of what the one I've already signed up, because one of the things you also see is like Nigeria. So why is it bringing it? That's my business phone number. Why is it bringing it? Oh, sugar. Okay. My company is Winters PLC. My company size, I'm just going to make it like 25 to 50. So my business phone number, right? I don't want to be that since it is Nigeria now that is selected, it shouldn't show me that error again. Okay. All right. So it's going to ask to send me a verification code, which for the phone number I've supplied, you can follow me as I do. Okay. Change my phone number. Okay, rather. Sorry, I think I made a mistake there. Sorry. No, I'm not getting a verification code. Trying. Okay, yeah, it's coming now. 397822. Okay. All right. So this is the part it asks you for you to select a domain name. I'm just going to use the same domain and see whether you can use it.
We decided to go the route of taking question and answers, and so that way.
Okay, so I'm just gonna try that, and then the first account I'm gonna create will be my admin. Okay. Okay. So I think with that, okay. So what I can do, so it's just going to take me a few minutes for me to set up, and with that, you can set up your environment, and then it's going to take just a few minutes for us to, and then we can move on. So what I'll do is this. I already have an environment because it's just taking me time. So I can just quickly take us through what that looks like. And for you to log into it, you just have portal.office.com. Please, at this time, if you have any question, I can start taking questions because of the time. Okay, so it's already there. This is it. So the first thing you want to do is this, because even when it's still signing up, it tells me I can sign in already. So the first thing you want to do is that you go to the admin part. So you have the Office 365 admin. So this is where what we intend to do afterwards is this. I want us to see how we can add users. I mean, like I said, how we can add users, how we can add contacts, and then how we can create group also. So we'll be looking at the different options for us to be able to add users to this environment that we've created in the next coming week. We'll be looking at how we can create the groups. So the first thing is your home, which shows all of these. Then right now, if you want to look at the number of users you have, I don't have any users. The very first user I created is who is here. You can actually create contacts, probably maybe I want people to send me mail on this email address, but then at the end of the day, I want probably any mail that is sent to should be able to go to a Gmail, or probably so you can have contacts. You want to send mails to people in Gmail or to Yahoo, you can create all of them. Then you have guest users, probably maybe users that you invite from other companies. Then you have the different groups you can create, and then shared mailboxes. So this is what it looks like, your home. Now, at the end of the day, this is what you will get when it's coming up, but it's still coming up, So like I said, now you have the billing. This is where you look at services you've purchased, or you want to purchase services. So let's assume now what I've done right now, I've signed up for M365 Premium. Let's assume I want to sign up for another trial that is different from the trial that I have. This is where I come in and select each of those trials that I want to sign in to. Yes, you have trials that you can sign into, or probably maybe you want to sign in to an higher, or an higher version of plan, and you want to look at it maybe for a period of time. You can actually come here. Then you'll have, this is your products really. Where you come to your products is when it tells you what you have purchased, and it tells you the expiration date. It tells you how much it is, so you have how many users it has been assigned to. You have like a dashboard to look at what the number of your license and all of that. Then your bills and payments actually talk about your payments method, where you want what you want to put in here. When you talk about the invoices or the billing profile, then the billing accounts, you can actually come here and define who your billing account. So for most organizations, they will want to put their what they call it, the financial team here, so that they can get notified probably when there is the expiration is, or they can send them billing account information. So for most organizations, they put their financial team here. Then you look at your payment method. So you can actually add a payment method to say, before I get cut off, what I need is this. Notify me, or take from my, what they call it. You can have your payment method defined there. Probably you want to put a credit card number, you can input it here so that you don't get cut off from services. Like we said, it's a subscription and it's a monthly and yearly basis. So you want to have it there. Then you can actually customize your billing notification, so you get recipients, you can add recipients here who can be notified about billing. Then the next thing you want to go to, which we will go to later on, is about the setup. So we have setup here that we can go into, and then to show us things like probably you want to add your custom domain, you want to create, you want to complete all your configuration and all of that. Now you have this guided setup, because it's just going to be things that will tell you, a wizard that will ask you, what is your domain name? So my domain name is winterspsc.com. Okay, put in your domain name, and then wherever your domain name, you will do a lot of those verification. So next week we will be looking at this, like I said, and before the weekend I will send in a template for us for a user, so you can have that with you. That user template is what you are going to use at the end of the day to populate your own environment. Then now look at all of these. When I look at this setup, like I said, this is the guided setup. You have all of that. You can actually look at the reports about your usage, about your security and compliance. You can see reports on that also. Then you can see reports also. You can see the health status of your environment, the service. You have the message center. You can actually go there. I mean, then these are the admin center. Remember when we started, we said there are 6 core components of M365, and each of them have their own their admin center. So if I look at all the admin centers here, this is what you have. So you have the ones for, let me see, I think so you have the ones for, I think it's still loading. Let me refresh, because yeah, okay. So because you are supposed to have the ones for Exchange Online, I'm supposed to see the admin center for Exchange, for Teams, like I said. So this is it. Yes, it's coming up. It's still coming up. So you have the admin center. You have for Active Directory, where you manage all the identity of your users. You have for compliance, where you can do things like data governance, access control, and all of that. Then like the Endpoint Manager, you understand. Then you have for OneDrive for Business, admin center, Power Apps also, SharePoint, Yammer. So I'm supposed to have more than these. I'm actually supposed to have the one for Exchange Online, you understand, but I think the configuration is still going on in the background, and you will see all of these. So in the coming week, we will go through all of it and then still see more. But if you have any question, I would like to take your question, and then we can treat all of these coming next week. Do we have any question at all, please? I don't know if there's any question in the chat window that somebody will want me to attend to, but if you don't have any question, thank you for the time. I think I've taken more than the time. I took an extra 3 minutes of your time. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the time. But we can, if you don't have a question, and you can always you can join the WhatsApp group, put your question there. As many of us that are on this call, please let me know if you have any difficulty signing up for your M365, the premium version, because at the end of the day, this is the same subscription we'll be using to test everything that we're going to do going forward. So you will see how to add users, you will see how to create groups, you will see how to create mailboxes, and also to create sites. So we have somebody to take us through SharePoint site, how you can create a small intranet site, customize it, and all of that. We also have somebody else that's going to take us on the security aspect of it, you know, so as much as possible. Like I said, this is not an ASHEM thing. So like I said, I'll be posting in the user group a call for speaker. I want it to be something that is the community as much as possible. This is not ASHEM. So last week I called for speaker, and this week again I'm calling out for speaker. If you're good and you're interested in sharing the knowledge with the rest of the team, why not come along and share the knowledge with everyone on the call? Whether you're an MCT or you're not an MCT, the forum is open for you. We can always share knowledge. So if there is no question, I want to say thank you all for listening, and thank you for joining the call. All right, yeah, Timothy, yes. Thank you. Yes, you may unmute yourself.
I have a question.
Yes.
I guess it's advanced.
Go ahead. Because I know you are not a newbie. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
I have a mailbox that is filled up.
Okay.
The online archive has been enabled.
Okay.
But of course, we know usually that it shrinks the mailbox, it shrinks it. But it got to a point that it's completely filled up, 100 gig. And I've been using PowerShell to hasten the movement from the inbox to online archive. But it's taking forever.
I don't like how big it's not working.
It is, well, I'll consider that mailbox as it's moving, but mails are still coming in. So even little space, it's still coming in. it would create a little space, but it would just come in and so it filled up again. So how can I hasten that process of ensuring that the mailbox move the mails from the inbox to online archive? Because when I even check the online archive, the user is actually 500 and something gig on the online archive.
That means you've even exhausted. So that means you've already exhausted your over one. You're close to your 1 terabyte, really.
So I've done it before, but it takes time. But this time it's taking just too much. So I just said, okay, let me just ask this question: is there any way,
Okay, so what comes to mind already? What comes to mind already, really now? Because they said you have unlimited online archiving, and I also think I have, yes, it's TT up. Is okay. I also have TT on the call that can also assist with this very well. Even though they say you have online unlimited archiving, I think that same online unlimited archiving is you can actually ask for more space from the Microsoft when it gets filled up. On the other hand, the possibility of saying you want to ship your data to Microsoft is another thing that you might want to consider. Now, except because so my own concern would have been that probably maybe when you did your archiving and then you did your retention policy and all of that, that is not working. But for it to even have showed 500 gig, that means your retention policy and the likes are actually working fine, and it means that is intact. Now, the problem I think you are experiencing is more of the performance, really, because you've used up to, you said 100 gig, right? Not 1 terabyte. No, it's not. So you at least you have 1 terabyte mailbox. Is it 100? Yes.
Yeah,
I think
it's actually for the mailbox is 100 gig.
It's 100.
Archive, of course.
But unlimited archiving, and you already have 500 for archiving, and then you have so what has happened now is because you've capped already your 100 gig, so it's more of a performance of the mail burst, really. So the best way you can actually resolve this is for you to say probably maybe you exported some of those mails and then you can ship it over to Microsoft to help you. That might be a faster approach. If not, you can also do what is, you can open, I don't know whether you've opened a support case at all on this, or you can see how you can congest some of, because the primary mailbox is actually the problem. Primary mailbox does not have enough space to breathe, so to say, so that it can process any of the requests that is coming into the archive. So that's what I'm seeing in your case. So it's either you do what is, you export manually into PSC what you have to a desktop or to a drive. I need to also verify, because I still, like I said, I need to verify there is something that is the OneDrive PST where you can use for migration. So what you can do is that even if you download that PST, really, you download it to PST on your local device and you keep it there, you can look for how you can put it on the OneDrive and then use it to import it into the archive mailbox. That's another thing that I'm looking at, that you can import it to the archive mailbox. Otherwise, you might want to consider maybe you export it and then you ship it to Microsoft to do it. So those are the two options. So it's to congest really the primary mailbox, because primary mailbox does not have enough room to breathe to process the request to the archive. That's what I see that is going on there.
Okay, I'll try.
But we can always take this on or after this call with you. I mean,
okay, no problem.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay, you're welcome. All right. Do we have? Okay.
Thank you.
Do we have any other question? No. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you all for stopping by. Thank you all for joining. And then, like I said, next week is another day. We'll all meet, and then why we'll meet next week. Before then, stay safe and keep learning. Please do fill our evaluation form before you leave the call. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you more.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.